All right, mi gente. Are you ready? Thank you for everybody who's been tuning in and thank you for your patience. At this moment, I'd like to bring up our featured guest. Welcome to the show, Brandon Castro, who is running for Assembly in Queens. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you all doing? Can you hear me well, by the way? I apologize for coming late today.
You're good. Let's go, Brandon has a new meaning now, right?
100%. That was my unofficial slogan when I ran back in 2024.
And it had multiple meanings, but it's just it's not your first rodeo. First question. Um, I ran for office on numerous occasions, as you know. So after you run the first time, a lot of people don't really want to run again. It's very exhausting. But what made you come back into the fight and come back for more?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to say again, if I haven't said it prior, I appreciate you all for having me here today. I've been a big fan watching Cafecito break for a couple years now. And now it's great to now be in to be here as a guest and as a candidate for office. Yeah, so I ran back in 2024 for this very same seat, State Assembly District 30, right over here in Maspeth, Woodside, Jackson Heights, and parts of Elmhurst too, and I got around 40%. And we had knocked on 19,000 doors, got over 12,000 votes, and that was against an incumbent. This year, I really wasn't planning to run. I was going to wait like a couple of years. Everybody wants to build up their name more, build up a bit more, kind of more of a coalition building. But it's an open seat now. The incumbent, his name is Assembly Member Stephen Raga. He is running for a state senate now, and so, since it became an open seat, why would I not want to run again? I've always cared about advancing other, more of an independent voices, conservative voices, people who care about common sense policy. And now I'm back. I'm back. And day one, I was endorsed by former council member Bob Holden, who is a Democrat, by the way. That's in a district backing. He's right over here in Maspeth as well. He was just recently term limited at the start of this year. And I know the incumbent council member Phil Wong very well. I was involved in his primary. He's a very common sense conservative, and he won. He won by over 300 votes against the Democrat machine, and that's what we're going to do the same thing here. And there's a three-way Democrat primary. There's four of us are running now, but I'm the Republican and the conservative candidate. I have both of the party lines, but now there's a three-way Democrat primary, and whoever wins that, we're just ready to beat them.
Sounds good. I like the confidence, and I think the difference between now and 2 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, there's matching funds now on the state level.
Yeah, so it was actually there in 2024. I was never able to get it. So I had actually ran a year after I graduated from college. I graduated in 2023. I ran for office in 2024. And we had only fundraised close to $10,000. But we've already have the matching funds now. We've already qualified for. That's the one thing that I cared about the absolute most, making sure that I took the fundraising seriously and took the matching funds seriously. Like, as soon as I'm home every day, whether I have work, I'm here just doing calls, just doing my own thing. I would call for maybe 5 or 6 hours straight, just talking to some of the local neighbors. I would knock on doors, asking people if they could contribute anywhere from $5 to $250. We've qualified for it. We're approaching the $10,000 goal, which is everything I fundraised in 2024. But that's going to really put us over the edge this year.
Yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. My least favorite part of campaigning, a lot of things are rough, but asking for people for money is always tough. I always like to do different fundraisers. I was hosting fundraisers constantly, so that way people are getting something for their donation, so to speak. They get to come to a party or something of that nature. They get a meals. I did a pizza at Spumoni Gardens, and different restaurants would open bars at reasonable prices. So it just kind of made sense. But unfortunately, the campaign finance board is very corrupt, and even though I made the matching funds, the qualifications, they denied me for some BS reason, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm glad that you made the matching funds, because that makes a huge difference as far as your budget and getting a lot more marketing out there. You got 40% without matching funds a couple of years ago. More and more people are waking up, so it's very realistic that you could win the assembly seat and flip it red. So we're definitely excited for you.
Thank you very
Bra-
much. I'm excited as well.
Brandon, for those who are getting to know you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Why did you decide to run even the first time? And congratulations on running again.
Thank you. Yeah, well, there's probably a lot of people who have never heard of me before. So I was born and raised here. I was born and raised here in Queens my entire life. I was born and raised mostly in the Woodside area. My family just had moved here to Massachusetts back in 2004, and I've been here ever since. I went to a grade school here. I went to a high school here. I went to a vocational high school. I did computer science for 4 years, and that's how I knew that that's not what I had wanted to do, so I was able to figure that out early. Then I graduated from a CUNY college. I graduated from Queens College at 2023 with dual bachelor's in history and also political science. Now, my original goal was to become a high school teacher. I just love the yap. I'm like a huge, what do you call it? I'm like a history fan. I'm a lot more like a history buff. If you guys were to see my room outside of this small area here, it's kind of looks like the 1940s. But so when I was in college, I was really starting to do the coursework for it, and COVID happened. And so, as opposed to you learning how to teach kids, observing inside of a classroom, I would have to do it from home. So they would give us like 100 hours. I forgot the specific amount, but it was hundreds of hours pretty much that you had to sit through, take notes, and it just didn't suit me well. COVID, I think, ruined a lot of things for people here, especially for college students. People kind of went through all of college from here. They just did it behind a screen, and they didn't really get to learn much from it. All the extracurriculars, all the things that my campaign is about, they didn't get to experience that. So I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to still do another 2 years afterward because I had to switch majors, but I had to do it all from home here, and I just couldn't sit through it. It's just, I can't understand how people for hundreds of hours there, you're never going to get the same amount of quality learning how to teach students, understanding how all of that works from home. You have to be there inside of the classroom to do it. So then I had switched to an accelerated master's degree. I was able to get into that program, and I want to become a college professor. And the coursework for that is a lot more. I would have had to went to a couple of years more school, and I would have probably had to go into debt for it because there's only a certain amount that financial aid is actually willing to cover for that. But I got a job offer because I had multiple internships and jobs already. So I used to then after that, after I graduated, I worked for the New York City Department of Small Business Services. I was a community liaison, so I was involved collaborating with many of the local electeds here, the community roundtables. I supported small businesses learning how to navigate the city services, and I did thousands of calls. Just me, just like what I am doing now. Just doing calls, asking people if they could contribute, support, spread the word pretty much, and I got involved in a lot of the grassroots campaigns. I as soon as I had graduated, I was just telling people, like, "Hey, is there any way that I can get involved in the local GOP, in the local party, in the local county?" And I just really wanted to volunteer, contribute, get involved in the campaigns because we are the real grassroots. People can say whatever that they want, but the Democrats, they could snap their finger, they can easily get 20, 30, 40, $50,000 raised. They can claim to be grassroots, but they're getting money from the billionaires a lot more than we are on the local level. I was involved in multiple city council campaigns last year. I was involved in Phil Wong. He's the new council member for the 30th district
Hmm.
here. My team and I knocked on 16,000 doors for him. And I had
Wow,
wanted to run after I
you've
had
built the
graduated.
muscle. You've built the muscle because
Mhm.
it's like how Mark how was saying, and just the people that we've interviewed and gotten to know, just running, deciding to run is such an undertaking, especially like you said, if you are not with the Democrats and you don't have that type of backing, it's not going to be the easiest. So, what inspires you to because a lot of people would say, well, this is democrat country. You're wasting your time. But what is it that motivates you to be like, no, i'm I see the odds, or I'm still gonna position myself to really just do this?
Yeah, well, I've always been more of like a rebel myself. I've been a Republican since high school. That's one of 20 probably, because yeah, they had like the NIPER people, or I forgot who it was, just asking people to register to vote, and I did, and I just, it associate a lot more with me. So on top of that, and I'm like a lot more of a disagreeable person. I don't like people telling me what to say or do. So I always like to build. Building is the most fun thing. We're only on this planet for so long. Why not build, cause a little bit of chaos? I mean, fun chaos. I don't actually mean chaos, but just build. Build up like a coalition. Like I kind of have my own thing here. I'm the only one that can run for this seat as of this moment now. And there's a reason for that. I've been involved in, some of the local grassroots campaigns, but I've always cared about having a common sense voice in college. I think very well, even here, just walking around, there's a lack of balance and dialogue. People can talk about this, but it's more like a cultural thing. I cannot blame people. When they go vote, they vote for who they see out there. They vote for the campaigns that they see, all like the promotion, the pop cards, the banners, and the Democrats are the ones that have the money to do it. So we can't really blame people for voting Democrat when just the average person walking down the 7 train. You want to talk to them about the local party politics. They don't care. But if they see you, they see the positive message that you have. Well, they actually care about that a lot. And that's something I realized that some of the local parties, some of the local candidates don't do very well. Outreach is a very, very big problem, and that was a problem I wanted to solve. I still want to solve now. That's something that the Democrats just have monopoly on. And if any of us three want to run in a Democrat primary, I'm not encouraging people to do that. I care about building up the GOP, but they go against their own. They will slander you. They will raise. They will use you to fundraise to have all their political connections. They are going to bury you. How many people do we know that have never made it past a Democrat primary? There's tons of them, and there's going to be even more this year too. This is the only seat after June 23rd. Will be the only open seat against a wave of socialists. Everything to the north, east, and west from here is all going to be occupied by DSA, and all the Hispanics. Just like Ramos, she's the only one left outside from Antonio Reynoso. She's the only one left on the legislature, and she's not really right wing at all. She's just like a labor Democrat, but they all endorse against her. So the Hispanics, us, they are using college politics to fuel their careers here, and I just do not tolerate that at all.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because not everybody really understands that. Yeah, that's why I kind of made a video, sort of highlighting that thing with Antonio Reynoso. And I understand that most people don't care, but in politics, or one of the ways that people get ahead in any life is relationships. And when you are endorsed by someone, it's because you've built at least some sort of trust or relationship, or maybe, who knows, maybe there's an unexpected exchange. I'm not saying that I'm co-signing. I'm just saying that I'm seeing the way Mamdani's moving. I don't, and some of the socialists, they will make a whole bunch of promises. Well, I guess you would say most politicians are like this, make a lot of empty promises, empty gestures, and hoodwink and gaslight, except that people are tired. I really, really, truly believe that most people are just fed up with politics and they're just looking for common sense. And there are a lot of things that I see in you that are very they're exciting to me, as as a balance to what I'm seeing in some of the young Democrat politicians that are in a little bubble. They're just speaking to that bubble only and are completely ignoring the rest of the lives that are surrounding them in New York City and perspectives.
I agree with you fully. The kind of the theme of our campaign is coalition building. I didn't get to elaborate on my platform very much, but we have our campaign slogans. Anybody that follows me on social media, is the first thing that they see: grow skills and jobs, build smart and build safe, protect and restore our communities here, and expand and advance budget and education reform. We have to have a positive message. There's a lot of the Republicans that run and say no to this, but it's an endless list. Now, I can agree with all of those things, but the average person taking the Q60 bus, the average person walking down the 7 train, the 456 train, well, they want to see what we're for. What are we for? And that's a problem that I had also wanted to solve. There's a lot of things that people are talking about now. And I just feel like the people that, especially all the socialists running, they're just like a bunch of opportunists. Now, I think some of them actually believe in that, but we saw with the person that ran for Zoran State, I believe her name is Diana Moreno. She's an Ecuadorian socialist. I'm an Ecuadorian conservative, or I guess more of like an independent. But they're taking that and then they're using the DSA as kind of like a vehicle. And I don't believe half of them actually believe that. Like you and I, we've been born and raised, and none of my family, outside of maybe like some of the Gen Zers, but they've never been fans of socialism. A lot of them fled that. They flee these far left countries, and they see the consequences of that. But what they're doing here, New York, is that they're talking about it, and then they're giving them a solution, or quote unquote a solution. I've been telling people that Zoran was the favorite to win after he won the primary. That was a screwed up mayoral race anyway. I did not vote for Zoran, of course, but he had a positive message, and people brought that. They accepted that he was one of the few ones that talked about the cost of living crisis in 2024. That was on all of my flyers actually. So they got ahead of the game on that. But if we want to actually compete, we had to have a positive message, and we have to address a lot of these things. They talk about the cost of living crisis. What about the administrative bloat? What about the nonprofits? All these things that are getting tons of money, but they're just in bed with the Democrats. The CUNY college president, or any of the CUNY college presidents, paid for by our taxpayer dollars, makes over $300,000. I think they make more than the mayor. The CUNY chancellor makes over $600,000. They make more than the president. All these nonprofits, these executives, they make these six-figure salaries, all to just kind of promote some of the local people there. So the corruption runs very, very, very deep. And I'll call out whichever of the two parties that happens to do it. But we have to let the people know, hey, we're talking about some of the local issues. We have an actual campaign platform, and let's get everybody to vote this year.
Well, one thing too that I think that I would love to see Republicans do better is their messaging towards the younger generation, because Zoran Mamdani did that very well. And I saw that Curtis Lewa was also doing it. I don't want to chime in on Andrew Cuomo because that will send me into another planet. But but I also want to highlight something that you said. So many people spend so much time on the nose, or this is wrong, or pointing fingers or putting down, and that's not resonating. People are just tired of just, they hear fighting, they hear another battle, and they're not hearing, well, where am I in the picture? How does that help me and my bills when I go shopping? Like, I could barely afford what I'm going to buy, which is what a lot of New Yorkers are saying these days.
I agree with you 200% on that. Now I can elaborate a bit more on my campaign platform too. But we have not only an affordability crisis, but we have a jobs crisis. So a good amount of Gen Z, just a recent college graduate like me, and I was able to get a job offer, but that took a lot of work for that. There's a lot that they spend their 4, 5, 6 years there. They don't get the salary that they worked so hard for. And there's a lot of people, they can call us lazy, and they have every merit to do that. But there's a lot of students. They do the right things. They pass. They pass their classes. They advance their grade levels. They do all these things. They do the extracurriculars, but they're underemployed, meaning they don't get the salary that they were kind of promised. They would call it like a scam, a lie. I'm not one to say that college is a scam. That's how I learned how to express myself. I got canceled a lot during college, probably once every year. But I had to learn how to navigate. I had to learn how to talk to people, shake hands. That's what I did. I was a career development committee chair there during my last year. I helped people do the interview prep, applying for jobs, understanding how to present themselves, and we did that every day pretty much. There was always people coming by the office saying, "Hey, could you help me reform my resume? Can you help me with this or that?" And that's kind of is the common sense message. We are want to advance careers, give people the necessary skills, but I want a college degree to mean something again. And how we can do that is through education reform. I'm the education reform candidate. That means prioritizing funding for career development programs, through these trade schools, through vocational schooling. I mean, I am the product literally of that. I did that for 4 years in high school. That's how I knew I did not want to do that. But if I didn't have that choice, I might have just learned it in my early 20s in college. And I'll probably still be in college now. I'll be like, you know what? I don't want to do that. Let me switch majors. And then being in depth, we have to give people the opportunity. The socialists, they love to talk about equality of outcome. If we should talk about anything, it should be quality of opportunity. We have to be the opportunity cans. We have to show them that they're capable of far more than they actually think. People just they go to class, home, class, home, class, home, but they're not getting the worthwhile that while they are there. And so we have to reform our education system to give people the necessary skills to actually compete. And then we will be able to invest in the future. And I think that should be the conservative message going forward. That has always been my message. I live and breathe that every day. I was put on this planet to encourage people, and that's what I'm going to continue doing now.
I just want to bring something home here because Cafecito mentioned before, New York is Democrat country. I want to emphasize to everyone who is watching this that Brandon is not in Williamsburg or Manhattan or one of these places where a Democrat is pretty much guaranteed to win. He's in a district that he got 40% 2 years ago in his first time running for the seat. He has built his name out for the past few years, and he is not running against an incumbent. And he is qualified for matching funds this time. So, most of New York, the areas that I mentioned, Williamsburg, Manhattan, a Republican will get 15%. He got 40% 2 years ago, and he is going to get significantly more than that this year. Like, I can guarantee you, I could bet my life on it that he is going to get more than 40%. Can he get more than 50%? I believe so. And I think that it's important for everyone listening to help him out with that. I think there's some type of fire alarm in this hotel room. Hold on a sec. I'll let you.
Oh wow! I hope he's
Wow,
okay.
what a weird day. We've had the weirdest show today with Mark. Like,
Yeah, it's beeping in the background, so I gotta
Mark, you're
mute
gonna have
myself
to.
now.
Mark has to exit the hotel and see what's happening over there. My God, but thank you for pointing that out because and I just want to correct myself. When I was saying New York is Democrat country, I meant to say New York City. But yes, Brandon is in Queens. He's got an opportunity here and activate the hotline, mi gente, because we can spread bochinche like wildfire really fast. We do not like, I think New Yorkers hands down agree, we do not like the creeping socialism, but we know what's going to happen come the primaries. People are not paying attention. There are not a lot of shows like Cafecito Break highlighting local candidates, which is why to us this is important to do. uh we need to hear about people. For like we said, running a local election is really difficult work. You have to knock on a lot of doors, and especially these days in New York City, people are like adverse to even talking to you, right? Like it is hard sometimes to get a conversation out of anyone. So this is, you know hard work, and it's deserving. I think that, I'm excited for you, Brandon. I think you have a great career ahead of you, and I am happy to witness this unfold, and I wish you the best of success. The best of success.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yeah, I want to kind of say the very same thing. So in terms of this assembly district, we have portions of Maspeth, Jackson Heights, Woodside, Elmhurst as well, and this is an assembly district that in 2021 Curtis Lewa won it. He won it by a couple of percentage points. I believe it was 6 or 7 percentage points. So he actually won this assembly district in 2021. Both Trump and Zeldin got around 44% each. It was like 43, 44, forget which specific year. They got roughly the exact same, and I got 40%. So this is one where we have suburban pockets. We don't have much of a commie corridor. Thank goodness for that, because we're going to be surrounded. When I say that, it's not like an exaggeration. Northeast West is all the legislature is going to be a DSA. Ramos would be the only one left. I'm talking about Jessica Ramos. Everything else is literally going to be DSA. Like, we're screwed there. But I'll be the only one left. So we actually have the population totals, and if we have a lower turnout year, such as when Sliwa ran, and I don't think Hulk was much of like a turnout machine. I don't want to sound much like a dreamer, but she's never seemed that way to me. I can speak on behalf of Blakeman. He has a lot of work to do there. But that's what's my job, to knock on those doors, because a lot of people that voted for Curtis Cuomo, they're not just going to stay home. They're also going to come out and vote. And can we count on the very same populations that voted in Zoran to also turn out into record-breaking numbers that they did in 2025? That remains to be seen. But even if they do, I represent them. There's over a 32% Hispanic district. I have the demographic edge in this seat. There's four of us are running this year, and I have the endorsements to back that. I'm endorsed by a Democrat, former council member Bob Holden. I'm also the only New York City candidate endorsed by the New York Forward Party. That's the third party started by Andrew Yang. He actually won this council district when he ran back in 2021. That was for the mayoral. That was for the mayoral primary. I'm the only one in all of the 5 boroughs. That's a fact that actually shocks me still. They picked a Republican, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I even trying to laugh. It was not luck. That was very well earned. I've been here for a long time. Not a long time, but I've been a part of bipartisan campaigns. The conservative, the common sense campaigns. I was a part of Ramses Frias. I was his campaign manager for his city council district 25 campaign. I helped Phil Wong win his Democrat primary. We had our guys in there. They knocked on 16,000 doors, and he narrowly won against a $1.2 million union UFT backed candidate. And we're going to be going up against kind of like the Democrat machine here too. Uh, if I could briefly talk about the three candidates that we're going to be going up against, one is by the name of Patrick Martinez. Now, you hear the last name Martinez, you're like, Brandon, didn't you just say you have the demographic edge? He is white, progressive male. He's part of the Crowley family. Now, I don't know if you guys know that family. Joe Crowley is the one that AOC beat. Because of him, we have her there now. I'm not much of a fan of him either. I've never been a fan. And then Elizabeth Crowley, he is the cousin to Elizabeth Crowley. That's who the former council member Robert Holden beat when he first ran as the Republican candidate, by the way. He's always been a registered Democrat, but he got the Wilson Pakula. So there's a little bit of history here. A Hispanic beat a Congress member, a Republican beat an incumbent. I'm kind of the mix of both of them. We're up against someone by the name of Shamsul Haq. He is Muslim, Bangladeshi. I can't call him a socialist, but he's cozying up to the DSA. Literally, the first thing that he had put out is that he wants to advance Zoran Mamdani's agenda. And so you can call that whatever you want. He's kind of flip-flopped on a lot of things. And then we have a Nepali community leader by the name of Somnath Gemar. And I'll be the only moderate left in Western Queens to defend us from socialist takeovers. So the stakes are very high, but I know we can get past 51%. Curtis Sliwa did it back in 2021. We'll have the coalition. There's a lot more endorsements coming in after the primaries. If it seems a bit slow, there's no point to publicize them now. But I think people will be shocked at the people that are going to be backing us this year. And I hope that, I know for a fact we have a good chance to win. We'll have the independents, the moderates, all the coalition building, everything that I have been preaching for a long time now. Now we actually get to activate that.
That's fantastic. And tell us, what are the important dates that are coming up for you, as well as where can people find you on the internet, contact you if they want to donate to your campaign, things like that.
Sure, sure. Well, everybody can find me on any of the social media platforms at Brandon Castro NY. I'm very easy to spot. You just see a big head of hair, kind of like a big head. That is me. I'm there. We post every a single day, just spreading the gospel, pretty much, not the actual gospel, but just spreading like the campaign message. Everything that we have been talking about here, I highlight every single bit of that. I have a site. Well, we have a domain name. There's no real site yet, but if you go to www.castroforqueens.com, you will have a link to the donation page. I also have a link tree. So on all of my social media platforms, you get to see everything there. If you want to contribute, that'll be great. And this Sunday, we're actually collaborating with the New York Young Republican Club. So they have the deployment for me. So I'm collecting for two independent party lines. So when people go vote, they'll see Republican, conservative, arts and culture. It's kind of like our coalition party line, and reform. So that when people go vote, I don't know how much it is, but there's not many people. There's a certain group that will never vote for either the Republican or conservative party lines, but they might like our positive campaign platform. The Democrats that are going to be backing us and be like, hey, this guy's common sense. He's not one of the radical socialists. Maybe I'll vote on the arts and culture line. Maybe I will vote for a reform. And so that's what we are doing. But they're having a deployment for me. We're going to have my team and their team out there right over here by Pizza Boy in Woodside. I'm going to be promoting that actually starting the first thing tomorrow. They have been promoting that for weeks. We have, I think, just about over 30 people confirmed. Anybody that wants to knock on doors for us, ask people to sign our bipartisan petition, our independent slate. Anybody can sign it, whether you're a Republican, conservative, a Democrat, and I think it will really help us out. That's how Bob Holden won when he first won against a Crowley, against the Democrat machine. He had like 5 or 6 different party lines. We only have 4, but I think that's going to help us pad out the total more, and kind of give us more of the independent that we need to win.
Yeah, that's why I did the legendary Save the Planet party line. I had the Republican and Conservative party line, and I did Save the Planet because the Green Party was gone. And so the Save the Planet party line was supposed to, you know, it's to save the planet from communism, but people didn't need to know that. They could just think that it's a environmentalist party line endorsement. But unfortunately, they made it where if you have more than 2 party lines, they have to all the third one had to be on the same row, so they combined it on row C with conservative. So instead of it having an actual separate line on the ballot, row C said conservative forward slash save the planet, and they did that on purpose because they knew I would. If they created another party line called Save the Planet and a different row, then that would have probably been the difference maker since it was only a few hundred votes short. But
Wow.
the matching funds was another reason. Thankfully, you got matching funds. You are not capped out on matching funds, so people could still contribute and get that matching funds pretty much guaranteed since you qualified already. What is it, 8 to 1?
It's 12 to 1 for the
12
first
to 1.
$50. Everything after that is a 10 to 1.
So if somebody donates $50 to your campaign, you would get $600 towards your campaign.
That's right. That's right. Well, assembly district. Anything outside of it will not be matched. And we're not officially qualified per se. We're going to be submitting everything for the July filing, but we have more than enough so that when we submit it all, if they want to take away like a few of them, whatever that they try, we're already qualified in that sense, but not in terms of the paperwork. My filings still show the first 2 weeks of donations that we
Okay.
have per the CFP.
But it's only in district that's matching funds. Outside of the district doesn't count. Okay.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
you could still donate, any dollar amount that you can. As I emphasized before, Brandon is a legitimate candidate with a legitimate chance to win and flip the seat red. There's no incumbent. There's three lesser known Democrats battling it out in the primary, and they'll have to face somebody who ran for office, who's from the area, and who has a legitimate chance to win. So when you do uh, win the state assembly seat in November, come January, what is one of the first bills that you'd like to introduce or sponsor? Do you have anything in mind at this time?
Surely, well, repealing a bail reform would probably be the number one. That is something that people have been wanting for such a long time now. That has destroyed a lot of our communities here. Hiring a lot more police officers. You know, we are undermanned. They cannot, even if they wanted to prioritize patrol. There's a lot. You know, they don't have the resources and they don't have the manpower that they need here. You know, we're down a couple thousand police officers, so that'll be the absolute first thing. I would definitely prioritize funding. You know, we spend the most amount per a student out of any other state, and yet the results that we're seeing, you know, are just, I cannot call them terrible, but there's at least around 40% of students that advance up the grade levels that are not reading or writing proficient. I'm not just even talking about high school, college. I'm talking about the grade school. So sponsoring and working across the aisle, whether it's my own party or it's like the Democrats that are on education reform that advances skills and really hammering in that we need quality education back. Those would be my utmost priorities here. And there's also bills being passed. I believe Senator Joseph Adabo, he's reintroducing legislation to put cameras around where there's the higher density of populations that litter the most. It's kind of like the garbage dumping bill. We have a very small portion of Jackson Heights here, but if you walk here, Maspeth, and you cross the Queens Boulevard line, it's like night and day. You know, I'm a very, very simple man. You know, I want clean streets, I want quality schools, but there's a lack of care and there's not much enforcement going around when it comes to people polluting. And, you know, this is for the environment, this is for the community, this is for parents, this is for everybody pretty much. So I would definitely want to hammer in down on the illegal dumping happening around there. You know, you walk underneath the Roosevelt Avenue train, you walk anywhere there, you know, you just see garbage dumping everywhere, and I love the communities here. There's a lot of community members, business owners that care about keeping the streets clean, and I want to advance that voice rather than just act like it's not a problem. It's a very, very big problem.
Well, I am definitely grateful that you joined us and are were able to highlight your campaign. Pardon. As you can see, we've been having technical difficulties, fire alarms.
Well,
It's
I had to walk away because I wanted to hear the announcement that it's an all clear false alarm. You
Oh,
can
thank
hear a
God.
beep, but they hacked my they pulled the fire alarm during the show. That's the level of censorship they want here. I'm over here talking about how we're gonna flip the seat. It's like that's the level that I'm in North Carolina, and they go and that's how far the Democrats go to censor. I'm just joking.
that's the
I'm sure it's
conspiracy theory.
unrelated. I just I wouldn't be too surprised though. But yeah,
Well,
Cafecito,
it's
you have
always
any other questions?
interesting. Well, no, I feel like we could start wrapping out comments, but definitely, mi gente, pay attention to Brandon Castro, and if you're in his area, support. I remember in school, one of the biggest educational points that I received from a teacher, it was sort of just so simple. It was like, if you have two people and they're both thinking the same, you have two people and they're both thinking the same. There's no different point of view. So might as well just get rid of one. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Might as well just get rid of one. Like, why do you need two people thinking the same? And I just feel like there is like with the DSA, there's this one way or the highway kind of thinking that does not leave room for other conversation, other ideas, and there's to me that's dangerous. So we need you for many reasons, and we need people like you for many reasons. We need to balance this out and bring more ideas to the table because that's the way we save New York. Thank you very much, Brandon. Anything you'd like to add before we close out the show?
No, I think I said a lot. I spoke to the people about my background, what our campaign platform is. Not sure if you could tell, but I have a couple vinyl records here. I have like over 300, so it's good I didn't show the other part of my space here because it's just kind of like a mess. But yeah, we're just gonna keep on spreading the good word, pretty much. You talked about how hard it is to a door knock now. If somebody saw me, if so, when it was my first time running, I would imagine people are like, is that a Richie Valens? Why, who is that Elvis? Like, who's this guy knocking on my door? Is he like a salesman? So I'm loud, you can see me from like a mile away. We're going to just be doing that 50,000 times if we really have to. We did 19,000 with just a $10,000 budget. I promise you we'll reach at least 50,000 doors knocked. And I'm just excited for this year. I always care about advancing the independent voices. That's what Jesus Christ put me on earth to do now. I have a loud voice. I have the energy to do that. Let me advance the people who are active rebels. Like we cannot just have, like, they call it the narcissism of similar differences. Well, then what do people actually stand for? I get along with the most, even if we're on the opposite ends. People that stand for something rather than just trying to ride the waves and tides. I could have ran in like a Democrat primary, but those are soulless and they go up against our own people here. And the fact that the Hispanic populations, they're being hijacked by the DSA, is going to be very scary. If Valdez wins that seat, if Ramos loses, I'm going to be surrounded everywhere. And this is a vital seat. We have to take back Western Queens, take back our culture, and give us a neutral voice, a moderate voice, and an actual campaign platform. And who can? Castro can. That's my campaign slogan. It's funny. I actually don't really say that too much, but yeah. But if there's anyone that can, it is this seat is the people that are helping us out. It is my social media team, and it is going to be the canvassers and the army that we have out there, the independents, the moderate Democrats, the Republicans, conservatives, every single one of them that's going to be out there for me of this year. This is for them. This is for Hispanics. This is for everybody. We're here for everybody. Everybody has a place here, and we just want to advance all those common interests into this coalition that we have here. And people are going to be surprised as to what we have next.
Well, keep in touch with Cafecito Break, and lots of luck to you. I mean, you're running an excellent campaign, mi gente. Brandon Castro for Assembly. Mark, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, make sure if you can donate any dollar amount to his campaign, volunteer, do whatever you can to help push him. It's going to be close, but he could definitely do it, and I have faith that he will. And we saw what happened in 2020. You had the Democrats in power, the lockdowns, the mandates. That's why I ran for office in the first place. He talked before about education, with not just with colleges doing digital Zoom learning. You had it with schools of all ages doing no human interaction, just everything on the internet. It's like a nightmare that we went through. It's just this huge impact on society, and we can't have the socialists in power because they don't care. They want to ban you from society for not taking a vaccine. They have no problem, like, if you don't agree with them, doxing you or whatever the case may be. It's just pure evil, and they think that they have the moral high ground, thinking that Republicans are racist and all this other nonsense. Socialism, communism does not work in other countries. It didn't work in the Hispanic countries in South America, and it won't work in America either. We have a communist mayor that's going to fail and make New York City worse. We need leaders on the local level to fight this communist threat, and Brandon is one of them. So make sure you do what you can to help him get in office.
All right, mi gente. And Mark, do you have any wrap out comments for the show?
That's about it. Yep. Just make sure there's nothing you could do the day after election day. It's between now and November. A couple, one day, 2 days, 5 days. $10, $20, $30, whatever you could do. That's it. Every little bit makes a difference. If everybody does a little, we accomplish a lot.
All right, mi gente, pay attention, stay connected to all things Cafecito Break and everything that's happening with local elections in New York. And Brandon Castro, thanks again for joining us with Cafecito Break. All right, you will see the replays on YouTube, Rumble, and X Cafecito Break, and you could also go to our home on Substack, cafecitobreak.org. We love you guys. See you next week.
Thank you everyone for the comments.